Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is huge, both literally and figuratively. There are few working actors more recognizable today, and his brand is solid gold. From TV shows to blockbuster films, clothing lines to documentary production, Johnson has his hands in a ton of projects, and most of them are massive successes. While Johnson is very open about his story, there are still a few stones that are largely unturned to even the biggest fans of The Rock. Creating The Rock. Before he became the biggest star in Hollywood, Dwayne Johnson was The Rock, an eternal icon of professional wrestling. In his heyday, The Rock was the biggest name in the business, with his bombastic personality, excellent microphone skills, and classic matches cementing him as an all-time great of the industry. He was so great, in fact, that it's sometimes easy to forget that at one point he was perhaps the least popular wrestler on the roster. Johnson debuted under the name Rocky Maivia, the name drawn from his father and grandfather's wrestling identities, Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia, respectively. He competed with a goofy costume and an even more ridiculous haircut. This didn't go over too well with fans, and they quickly turned on him, filling arenas with "Rocky sucks" chants regularly. It wasn't until he turned heel and started referring to himself in the third person as The Rock that fans began warming to him. He's since become a legend, but even legends often have humble and slightly embarrassing beginnings. Hello, Hollywood. Johnson's ascent as a pro wrestler transcended the industry and reached into pop culture in a way few wrestlers have been able to do before or since. After a hosting gig on Saturday Night Live, he found Hollywood opening its doors to him. It wasn't long before he made his big screen debut as the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns. A Scorpion King spin-off followed, and the $5.5 million paycheck Johnson received for it was at the time the largest ever given to an actor for their first starring role. It's an appropriate start for Johnson, who has since set records as one of the highest paid actors in the world. He's clearly been primed for that accolade since day one. Silver lining. Johnson is an open book when it comes to his upbringing, including his less than shining legal record as a teen. While growing up in Hawaii, he was frequently arrested for his involvement in a local theft ring.
I used to stop at this 7-Eleven, I swear to God, every day, and I used to steal a king-size Snickers bar.
Though not all of his thievery was part of big-time crime, Johnson is on the record as saying the only reason he isn't in jail is because of his extremely supportive family. He's also taken those experiences and turned them into something good. He now works frequently with rehabilitation programs and even made one the subject of his HBO documentary, Rockin' a Hard Place. Leave it to Johnson to find something good in the darker moments of his past. Hail to the King. Johnson is an iconic superstar, but even he has idols. He is a die-hard Elvis Presley fan and has managed to inject a healthy dose of his fandom into a few of his projects. All the Elvis memorabilia depicted in the film The Game Plan actually belongs to Johnson in real life. There was also that time he dressed up as Vegas-era Elvis to serenade a crowd of United States servicemen with a rendition of Jailhouse Rock. Johnson seems like a guy who doesn't settle for anything but the best, so it makes perfect sense that his favorite musician is one of the indisputable all-time greats. The Almost Willy Wonka. One of the most famous collaborations between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp in the early 2000s was an adaptation of the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, with Depp playing the quirky chocolatier Willy Wonka. What does this have to do with The Rock? In the most out-of-left-field twist since the glass elevator launching into the sky, Burton's second choice for the role of Willy Wonka was none other than Johnson. It's so entirely on the other end of the spectrum in terms of casting that it honestly might have worked. Depp's impish, whimsical performance is fun, but it's hard not to be curious about what Johnson's take on the character could have been. Mr. Selfie. It's impossible to measure how generous a celebrity is with their fans, but Johnson is just about the next best thing. In 2015, he set a Guinness World Record for the most selfies taken within a 3-minute period. He set this record on the red carpet premiere of his film, San Andreas. It would have taken just over 75 selfies to set the record, and of course, Johnson crushed it, with a stunning 105 selfies in 3 minutes. Something fishy. Johnson's physique obviously plays a major role in his allure as a star. Johnson leans into it too, posting insane gym videos on Instagram regularly and launching his own workout clothing line through Under Armour. You probably already know how much work he puts in while at the gym, but what will really blow your mind is what Johnson has to do in the kitchen to keep his muscle mass up.
You have to be watching your diet because we know diet, like they say, abs are made in the kitchen. So more than you're working out.
Diet's everything.
Johnson eats enough food for several families every day. Massive amounts of proteins, greens, and healthy carbs to make any mere mortal sick. The impressive stat though, Johnson is big on cod, so much so that he eats over 800 pounds of it every year. That's more than 2 pounds of fish every single day. We're sure it gets old after the first few hundred pounds, but credit where it's due, it sure pays off.